My special guest today is Cameron Wales, a young, active, two-term councillor here in Brockville. Cameron, so I'd like to start off by recapping, before the commercial break, a bit about affordable housing, because this is such a pertinent issue in our community. And I would like to address the Philip Cable Site development by 50 King Street. It's been a controversial development project in our community. What has been the issues surrounding this, and what is your take on that?
It's a great question. Well, first off, I think anytime that there's a development in Brockville that sort of alters the official plan process, or that is a sort of a plan of subdivision, big development, you know, folks who live by the development are very rightly interested, right? They want to know sort of what's going to be going in there, and they want a chance to provide input. So I heard from a lot of folks during that development process of different concerns. I think some related to construction, right, and disruptions around construction, but also related to the density of that development. And I hear the same concerns about other areas, right? In some cases, it's when an apartment building is going into an area that's mostly single or multifamily homes, that kind of thing. So I hear those concerns, absolutely, and the big message that I always have for folks is that our community does have the capacity to take on more density in a responsible way, as long as we're developing appropriately, and that will actually enrich our community. It means that we have more folks here to fill empty positions. It means that we've got a broader tax base in order to better afford services, and it also means that families and you know, their kids, when they grow up and want to live in Brockville, have more choices and more options in terms of where to go. So a development like Phillips Cables, and like a lot of the other developments that we've seen, does attempt to provide that kind of mix of housing, and we'll see where it goes. I mean, the final approval of that is sort of yet to come, but certainly it's exciting to see developers take an interest in providing housing in Brockville, and it's also important that when we have those conversations that we're listening to people who already live in those communities, and because often their concerns and suggestions can make the development that much stronger when it is finally built out. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the job supply has to match the affordable housing one way or another with the new factories that have moved in.
Yeah.
When is the completion date for the project?
For the Phillips Cables site?
Yes.
Yeah. So again, that would be sort of up to the developer as to when they're wanting to, or the applicant as to when they're wanting to build out that site. So I don't know exactly when they're looking to be finished. I know that they had commented during the process that they were hoping to get started relatively soon, as after they've gotten approvals. So we've had the first stage where we've given sort of draft approval, so almost an approval in principle of the site. They then take that and they go and they do some work that needs to be done in terms of, you know, what preparation has to happen on the site, and complete some studies that the city needs in order to provide final approval. And then once that process is done, hopefully sometime this year, we'll grant them approval, and then they'll move along at whatever pace their project allows, right? Because it is dependent on, you know, whatever their sort of financial obligations are. They make decisions as well based on the sort of market demands, and certainly I would agree that there's a fairly high market demand for housing in Brockville. And I mean, that's the other key concern here. I mean, housing is important from an economic standpoint, but for me the biggest issue is that there are folks who want to live in our community but feel they can't afford to. You know, like I ran into a family during the last campaign that was living in a house that was about half the size of a house that they would need. When they were moving to Brockville, thought that they would be able to afford something a little bit larger, but unfortunately some of the pressures that have happened and that have been building for years and then were exacerbated by the pandemic have made that difficult. So I'm excited for us to build out our housing stock a little bit and welcome more people to our community for all of the reasons that I've just mentioned. So.